Hi everyone, in my previous video I showed you how to draw a repeated pattern by hand. What I did after was that I was able to carve my repeated pattern into a lino block and do some printing with it. So today I'm going to be showing you how to register your prints such that they line up nicely. These are some of the materials you'll be needing. So you have your printmaking materials and then also some materials to use for creating the registration grids and definitely your pattern as well. So this is the pattern that I have that I got after tracing the original block 4 times. So one thing you can do if you want is to carve this and print this, but what I find is that there's often overlaps and it's very difficult to line the blocks up perfectly such that this flows continually into the other side. So I'm going to show you an example that I did previously. So if you look at this leaf pattern, I had carved this previously and then I printed it in blocks like this. But what you notice is that it's very obvious where the block ends. So over here you can see that there's a blank over here, and that's what I want to avoid using the method that I'm going to be showing you. So what I usually like to do is that I will make a few photocopies of this and I'll also scan it just because I like to be safe and kiasu. And I don't like to draw an original copy. So I'm just going to put this aside. This is my photocopied version, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to identify the motif, which is the repeating part of the pattern. And then that's the thing that I'm going to be carving onto my lino block to create my repeated print. So I'm just going to draw it out for you first, and then I will explain why I chose this particular permutation. So how you check whether you made sure to get all your elements in is that you want to make sure that the thing that's next to, for example, the end of this pattern is the beginning of my motif. So the picture is next to this, okay, it's here. And then for example, the fan is on top, the fan is below. And then next to the legs of the fan, so it's over here. So that's how you check and make sure. So how I chose this particular permutation is that there's space where I have separated the motif from the rest of the image, so that if I accidentally print this area too far away, it's not really going to make a difference, or it's not going to matter. But for example, if I had cut out the motif here and made a separation here, it's going to be quite obvious when the book is not complete. For example, if I printed it too far away. So that's how you identify your motif and where to separate the image from the rest of the pattern. After you've found your motif, the next step that we need to do is to take some measurements. So what we're trying to do now is to find out how far we need to move this motif to print the next one such that it lines up. So the idea here is that you want to take a measurement from the first image to the second repeating image. So for example, right here, I'm going to take the measurement from this part of the photo frame or the window to this part. So make sure it's the same line, just that it's the second repeating image. So if I see here, this is 10 centimeters. So this will be your breadth that you need to move later on. We also need to take the height. So I'm going to measure from this part of the fan to this part of the fan. So you're not measuring from the top of the fan to the bottom of the first fan. You need to measure the top of the fan to the top of the fan, if that makes sense. Okay, so I'm just going to take the measurement of this, which is also 10 centimeters. And this will be your height. Okay, so we have 10 centimeters here and 10 centimeters here. So later on when we move our block, we'll be measuring, okay, I need to move this 10 cm to the right. I need to move this 10 cm up or 10 cm down. So there's one more thing that you need to note when you're doing your measurements is that you want to make sure that your ruler is parallel to the bottom of your image and perpendicular if you're measuring the height. Because later on when we move our image, we want our block to be a perfect rectangle or a square, depending on how what your block size is, and we're going to move it parallel and move it perpendicular just so that our measurements will be accurate and we can line things up properly. Okay, then I'm gonna manually crop my image such that I only have as much as I need to transfer this motif onto my block. So this is the base, make sure I hold on. When I crop it, I really want to make sure that my line that I'm drawing is parallel to the baseline. So what I can then do is that I can just cut this rectangle out and make sure that my lino block is about this size. So my image has to fit within my lino block. So I'm just going to cut it out now. Okay, this is just more of my kiasu photocopying. Okay, so this is what I have, right? I want to make sure that I'm gonna be able to carve this onto my block. Yeah, so I'm not gonna be showing the carving process because this video assumes that you already know it. So I'm gonna move on to how to register and print your block. Okay, so I'm gonna be showing you two different methods of printing. One would be that this block will be facing up, your paper will go on top, and then you will use your brayer to do the printing. The second method is having your block face down and basically just like plopping it like a stem. So I'm going to be showing these two methods. First, I'm going to show the one with the block facing up. So for both methods, what you need to do is that you need to make sure you find the middle point of both sides of your block. So my block is 12 cm on its height, so I'm going to mark the 6 cm mark with a marker. So you can't really see it, but I just marked it directly onto my block on both sides. So I have 6 cm and 6 cm. I make sure that I can see it pretty clearly. And then the breadth of my block is 18 cm, so the midpoint will be 9 cm. So I'm going to be marking that also on my block. For the top and the bottom. Okay, so I've already marked my block. The next thing that I want to do is that I want to have a sheet of paper that I can draw my registrations on. So this is what I'm printing on, and this is where I'm going to draw the registrations as to where I'm going to place my block. So I'm just going to trace out first the paper that I'm going to be using, like the size of it. Okay, so this is the printing area that the paper is going to go onto. What I need to do now is that I need to put my block on and mark out the middle points. So I already measured earlier, so I can just do a marking. So I found my middle point of each. Oops, there's ink on my block. Okay, don't be messy like me, it's not good. Oops. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw a line joining the 2 points that I've marked. Okay. This is just a diagram to show you what exactly I was doing in case it was not clear in the video. So you can pause here if you need to take a moment to process it. So what happens now is that the process is going to be that you're going to put this here and then you're going to do a print. And then you're going to move it based on the measurement that we took earlier, which is 10 centimeters. We're going to move it 10 centimeters and align it with the next middle point. So I'm going to mark all the middle points. So here I'm going to measure 10 centimeters too. Just going to write it out so you know. So here is going to be 10 cm also, and then the top as well. This is also going to be 10 cm. Okay, so I'm going to just keep marking until I have like a grid. Here's a diagram to show you exactly what I'm doing in case it's not very clear in the video. So you can also pause here if you need to take a look at this and know exactly what I'm doing. Also, just to note, I'm actually drawing onto the registration paper and not the paper that I'll be printing on for this registration printing process. Okay, so later on what's going to happen is that you're going to start by placing your block on the first grid. So what you're doing is that the grids are not the placement of your blocks, but the intersecting lines are where you should match up the middle points of both the height and the breadth. So time for the exciting part, we're going to start printing. So what I need to do first is I need to ink up my block. Okay, so the first place I want to put my block is the intersection that I measured earlier, so it's probably like right at the corner of the paper. So how I want to hold my paper is that I kind of want to hold it a little bit bent, and then I'm going to align it to the two corners. On the bottom, gently release my paper and then pat my paper onto my block. So to check whether my print is successful or not, I can lift it up lightly to check. If it's still pretty light, I want to press it a bit harder. I can go back in and do it again. So that's the good thing about registration markings, is that you can definitely get a better, more accurate print. Okay, so I have my first print. I'm going to remove my paper. Oops. And then I'm going to ink up my block again. So now the next print I want to do is that I'm going to skip the second one because I'm afraid that my block will catch the ink of the previous print. I'm just going to skip to the third one. So this is where I'm going to be placing my block after I ink it up. So if you look at it, my block is not within the box that I've drawn, but actually I'm just aligning the middle points to the grid that I've drawn for the top and the sides as well. Top, bottom and the sides. Okay, so once I've placed it and I'm happy with the placement, I'm going to make sure that I have my paper and it's the correct direction. Again, I'm going to align it to the two corners and then lightly lay it down, tap my print. So my left hand is going to hold on to my paper so that it doesn't move accidentally. So the print is pretty decent. I'm going to lift it up, and then I'm going to go to this part, this one and then this one. So the process just keeps going until you have completed your whole print. So if you notice for this one, the block is sticking out, it's okay. You can still use your brayer, but you want to be careful, like towards the corners. You don't want your ink to get on your brayer because it will just get everything really messy, which happened to me just now. So for the parts that are closer to the ink upside, I'm just going to use my fingers to rub it. And again, you can lift it up to check whether your image is printed very gently. I think it's pretty good. So now I have 4. So now I've finished all 3 rows. I'm going to go back to the first one and do the ones that I have missed out. Ta-da! So you can see that it lines up pretty well. So happy! Okay, so there you have it. This is my completed print. So what I would do is I would cut off the edges that do not have completed patterns. So this is the first method of registration, in which you draw a registration plate and then you proceed by putting the block face up onto your plate and then printing it. So I'm going to move on to the second way of registration, which may work better with fabrics because it's a bit more difficult to keep lifting up your fabric if you're printing on fabric. For this second method of registration, you're going to be drawing the registration directly onto the paper that you'll be printing on. So this is the diagram of how I did it. You can pause here if you need to take more time to look at it. For this second method of registration, your block is going to be face down onto your paper and you're going to be printing it face down. So I need to make sure that I have my registration marks for the midpoints on the back of my block. So I'm just going to use a marker and draw it out. I've already done so in pencil, then I'm just outlining it with marker. So when you print, what you're going to do is you're going to hold your block and lift it lightly above your paper. Try to align as best as you can at least 3 points of the midpoint. Release your block and then you're going to just press it pretty hard, and you need to make sure that you're pressing into your block so that the ink transfers. So this method takes a bit more physical strength just because you can't really use your brayer, and it takes more pressing into the block to get the ink to stay. So in the same way, you can just lightly lift it off to check whether your print has made it onto the paper. If not, you can just press harder and you just keep going. Okay, so this is the finished print of me using the second method of registration. Likewise, you're going to cut off the sides that don't have the pattern. Okay, so congratulations for making it to the end of my very exhaustive and exhausting tutorial. I don't know if you can tell, but by the end of that last clip, I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that this was useful for you, or you at least enjoyed sort of figuring out how to make a print like that.